Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, dear listeners, in our series we were at Adam alayhi salam, and Adam alayhi salam, by this point, Iblis has been sent down. He has said his debate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adam alayhi salam has entered into Jannah. He has been instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, eat everything that you wish, do whatever you want, but do not eat from this one tree. Now, before I continue upon this story, it's very important to note, what was this first sin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in the Quran that Iblis committed? It's called in the Quran istikbar, arrogance. Arrogance is a characteristic. It's a word that is often misunderstood by the Muslims. People think arrogance is the freshest clothes someone wears, new cars that they drive, a lot of wealth. People say that's arrogance. No, that's not what arrogance is described within the Quran and the Sunnah. In fact, Quran and the Sunnah says istikbar. Arrogance, in fact, is that thing which makes you go away from the commandments of Allah and makes you despise the people of Allah, makes you despise people. So the next time you look at someone, perhaps in a new vehicle, perhaps creating new videos, perhaps spreading the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you look upon him and say, what is this guy doing? What does he know? That aspect where you're despising that person without understanding his perspective, without understanding what he's talking about, simply at face value, that is arrogance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the sin of arrogance, which created the whole chain of events that Adam alayhi salam and we all have to go through it, inshallah, to end up back into Jannatul Firdaus. Now, my dear brothers, Adam alayhi salam, he is welcomed into Jannah. He begins to interact with the trees and the leaves and the doors. He begins to interact with the angels of Jannah. And I'm sure, mashallah, Adam alayhi salam must have been having an amazing time. However, there is a problem. And Adam alayhi salam begins to experience this problem. He sees the malaika, and he has already seen the jinns in the shape of Iblis, and he sees the trees, and he sees the leaves, and whatever other makhluk there is, creation there is within the Jannah. But he notices that there isn't anyone that looks like him. And he doesn't so feel lonely. It's more of a feeling of being included. Where is people that look like me, like a human being? So he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he makes dua, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant for me someone, a companion. And so he goes to sleep. The next day he wakes up, and who does he see upon him? There's a weaker narration, but I'll share with you that he wakes up the next morning, and upon waking up, he notices that a woman, that another human being is lying upon his heart. Her head is upon his heart, and her name happens to be Hawwa alayha salam. And Hawwa alayhi salam, there's another narration in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, some people link this narration to Hawwa alayhi salam, other people link it to some other woman. But the more authentic narration is that it is linked to Hawwa alayha salam, which is that she is created from the rib of Adam. Here is another issue. People for some reason take this and turn it upon its head. They employ sexism, they employ misogynism, and they say, why would a woman be created from a man? Why would it be created from the rib of a man? Is this not degrading for a woman? Well, I'll leave that decision to you, because man was made from dirt. At least the woman is made from a living thing. So is that really derogatory? Is that really misogynism when she's literally being created from another living thing? And remember, Adam alayhi salam was created by the will of Allah. He wanted to create it, he created it. But Adam alayhi salam had to pray for Hawwa alayhi salam to be gifted to him. So women are gifts for men to take care of, to be looked after, and that doesn't mean that women have to be looked after. Certainly not. But there is a job within Islam, roles that a man has to provide for. And this is the beauty within the religion of Islam. Another very important note here. What was the color of Adam and Hawwa? Last time I mentioned that it was a wheat color. Now remember, wheat isn't per se white. In fact, there are some ulama that say that the name Hawwa actually comes from the Arabic word from lahwa, which means very dark. So perhaps she was of a darker skin, not like the white skin that perhaps some of the Western philosophers or theologians would like to say. No, rather, it was much of a darker complexion. And again, from the complexion of Hawwa alayhi salam, from the complexion of Adam alayhi salam, all of the complexions are born because they both had all of the soils upon all of the earth, which we discussed, the topsoil layer of all of the sand and the dust and the soil that is found upon the earth. Now, Hawwa alayhi salam and Adam alayhi salam are having a merry time in Jannah. I'm sure they're enjoying themselves, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow us to enjoy Jannah with our loved ones as well, inshallah, very soon. Now here comes Iblis, and Iblis comes to Adam alayhi salam, and he begins to whisper into the ear of Adam alayhi salam, and he begins to say to him, Adam, don't you want to live forever? Don't you want to enjoy Jannah forever? Don't you want to have all of the things that Jannah has to offer and beyond? Well, there's a very, very simple solution. Just eat from this tree. Adam alayhi salam turns towards him. That was the point where Shaitan knew, I've got him. The moment you turn towards Shaitan, that's it. Whenever that waswasa within your brain, you know it's wrong, but there's something there. Trying it once could never hurt. And you start building courage to complete the sin once. The next time Shaitan comes, the waswasa gets louder and louder and louder. But the Shaitan is able to come back over and over and over again because you entertained him the very first time, exactly the way he attacked Adam alayhi salam. Comes back over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually Adam alayhi salam, he makes Adam alayhi salam forget about the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we don't pray because we're playing video games, or when we don't pray because we're at a party, or when we don't pray because we have something else to do, it's not like we don't want to pray perhaps, it's that we literally just forget. That forgetfulness is from Shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the forgetfulness of the orders and the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Shaitan comes and he says, eat from this tree. Adam alayhi salam extends his hand, takes the fruit of the tree, bites into it, and as soon as he does, his aura, his private parts are exposed, both him and Hawwa alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam and Hawwa alayhi salam. And now they panic and they become frantic, and they go chase after the trees and the leaves of Jannah to try and hide their parts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to them. Did I not tell you to not eat from this tree? Understanding the error of their ways, and remember, it is a point of aqeedah that Adam and the other prophets, they never make mistakes or errors on purpose. They're made but by the divine will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have something as a lesson to look up, as a lesson to learn from. At which point Adam alayhi salam and Hawwa alayhi salam, almost instantaneously they fall into sujood, and they begin to say, what a beautiful dua that they both make. They say, qala, they say, رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Again they say, رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Ya Rabb, they say, we have wronged ourselves. If you do not forgive us and have mercy on us, then we certainly will be from amongst the losers. At which point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he comes down, it doesn't come down, but he says to them, he says, قَالَ اهْبِطُوا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْدٍ عَدُوٌّ وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌّ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. He says, descend as enemies to each other. You will find in the earth a residence and provision for your appointed stay. This enemy, inshallah, we'll discuss what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean when he mentions this in this beautiful surah of Surah Al-A'raf. How can we get it? And what does it mean? When they got sent upon the earth, where did they land? How did they meet? When did they meet? And how did the progeny of human beings begin? Inshallah, please do join us in our next episode as we continue the stories of the Anbiya and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow Muslims to be spread with positivity. Allow us to learn from the lessons of the Anbiya, from the Quran and the Sunnah, and allow us and protect us from the sin of istikbar, from arrogance that Shaitan committed. Ameen. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.